And today we're going to begin our talk with a little centering prayer. And I want us to take that thought of God watching us. God is watching us. God is us. And take that into your heart as we center up and get quiet for just a moment and think on these 4 beautiful Advent candles that we'll be talking about today. God, we come this morning opening our hearts fully so that we can hear what is ours to hear, so that we can take in all that is said and discern what is ours to work with. We thank you that you are watching us, that you are not some far-off distant God, but that you are closer than hands and feet. You are the breath we breathe. You are our life. We ask that you would help us to consider, as we consider all of humanity, that we have the power to create peace and hope, joy and love in our world. And all we need do is to contact that Christ consciousness within to access those beautiful virtues. We thank you for this season when we're reminded of the incredible gift of the Christ, the birth, all the things that go with this season, all the gifts that were given us with the life of Jesus, the lessons that we learn, all the Christian concepts that we try to live by. We thank you for touching our lives with all of that and with all of the other things that we sometimes don't view in the moment as gifts. But we know in your outworking, they are all divine. For you are in control of our very highest and best good as we unfold. Let us take that into the silence for just a moment. Thank you, God, for this time. We thank you for our world leaders and ask that you would place love in their hearts as we spread the love in ours. We ask that you would help us to be the catalyst that does bring peace. In spite of all we see in the world, we know that peace is an inside job, and for it to be manifest in the outer, it must begin with the inner. And today we ask that you would help us to get in touch with that so that we can be your emissaries of light in this planet. In the name of the living Christ, amen. Well, last week, Reverend Chaz gave a wonderful talk on the topic of hope, which was the first Sunday of Advent. And if you missed it, I want to remind you that you can tune into YouTube and find it with all our other talks from Unity Church of Brownsville. Thank you for doing that, Reverend Marianne. It's a wonderful gift that we can go back and listen to those talks. And if you don't have the link to that, check your newsletter or call Valerie and she'll be able to hook you up. So all you have to do is tune in to YouTube and catch up on all the Unity weeks you might have missed in person. I want to talk about the entire Advent season today, the 4 weeks prior to Christmas, and how the concepts of hope, peace, love, and joy are basic to us living our best life. The Daily Word last Sunday said something that always gets me. It says, all these aspects are within us as aspects of our divine identity. And as such, we can claim them, and they will begin to manifest more fully in our life. Well, if there was ever a time, I think, that we needed more hope, joy, peace, love, I don't know when it is. Hope? I don't know about you lately, but the other day I heard myself saying out loud that humanity is going to self-destruct before our eyes. I look at the concept of peace sometimes and wonder how in the world that can be inherently within everyone around me when what I see around me is everything burning down globally, socially, environmentally. Peace comes when I go to sleep at night. Joy? Forget it. I consider hunger, poverty, war, friends with terminal illnesses. I can barely muster a smile some days. Love is perhaps the easiest to get in touch with because I only need to visualize my sweet husband or my dog or my grandkids and my heart overflows with love. But I've got to admit there are times when I simply feel numb. And I realized I need to work on these concepts badly. So I set out to do that this season by creating my own Advent wreath at home and turning to a deck of cards. Now, I'm not talking about a deck of cards that you use to play bridge or poker or whatever. I'm talking about a big fat deck of cards I got from a friend of mine who is a teacher of the Virtues Project. I don't know if you've heard of the Virtues Project. 365 cards, and this deck was published by that group, the Virtues Project, in 1991 as a mission to help children or young people all around the world to develop their authentic self-esteem and encourage their practice of virtues in everyday life. Now, these bridge religions and cultures and backgrounds and all that, it's expanded to a global movement. And it's been honored by the UN and endorsed by the Dalai Lama. So if you haven't seen the Virtues Card Project anywhere, just remember those words, go online. You can buy a deck of cards in a hard copy, or you can download the app and get a free sample deck that you can go through for free and set a reminder to read it every morning. So the Virtues Project is something that I'm really excited about because it's being taught in schools around the globe, and it is really helping people raise their children in a way that teaches the same virtues we practice here in Unity and in most Christian churches and most religious gatherings. So let's take another look at these inherent aspects of ourself, starting with hope. Here's what the card says about it. Hope is looking to the future with trust and faith. It is optimism in the face of adversity. Without hope, we lose our will to live fully. Hope gives us the courage to keep moving forward. It can be elusive when we have suffered often, yet it is the light that can redeem our dreams. With hope, we know that we are not alone. There is always help when we're willing to ask. There are gifts to be gleaned from all that happens. With hope, we find the confidence to try and try again. In these days of upheaval in our world, there are lots of reasons to become discouraged, but we can go to the book of Isaiah back in the Old Testament and see that the world was full of chaos and unrest back before Jesus was even born. There was chaos and war among the tribes. Invasions were occurring from just about every direction. But within the words of that same book that describes all this chaos, we read in Isaiah 25, 6 through 8, "On this mountain, the Lord Almighty will prepare a feast of rich food for all peoples, a banquet of aged wine, the best meat, the finest wines. On this mountain he will destroy the shroud that enfolds all peoples, the sheet that covers all nations. He will swallow up death forever. The sovereign Lord will wipe away the tears from all faces. Are there any more hopeful words than that? We must know that the chaos we see is always an outpicturing of our collective consciousness. I hate to own that, but it is always an outpicturing of our collective consciousness. When we begin to see the world rightly, though, we can begin to participate in creating a new world for ourselves and for our globe. Mark Morford says, "Stop thinking this is all there is. Realize that for every ongoing war and religious outrage and environmental devastation and attack plan, there are 1,000 counterbalancing acts of staggering generosity and humanity and art and beauty happening all over the world right now on a breathtaking scale, from flower box to cathedral." I love that. It just takes some tweaking to get our perspective back to believing in hope. And then we remember to believe that God always has our back. God is our back, now and forever. The universe was created to support us if we let it. If we let it. Whatever's happening to us in our personal world or around the world is a temporary state of affairs. It is temporary. It's a physical manifestation of a lot of error thinking generated in fear and ego-driven lust for power and money. All things will be made new, but the process of spiritual growth is long and sometimes very hard. So bring some magazines and a good snack. We're going to be in this together for a while. The second candle represents peace. The virtues card for peacefulness reads, "Peacefulness is inner calm and tranquility. It's a sense of harmony with all creation. Inner peace comes from quiet reflection and prayer. We release the past and let anxiety go. We keep a graceful pace." A graceful pace, I love that. Not allowing ourselves to be rushed or overwhelmed. We do not give in to anger. We resolve conflict in a just and gentle way. Peace is giving up the love of power for the power of love. We choose the unity of peace over the fragmentation of fear. Peace in the world begins with peace in our life. This is tough. We must let go of judgment to get to peace. Whoa. We have to let go of judgment to get to peace. Let go of the never-ending political battles that keep us stirred up. Put all the issues that cause us unrest away. If something steals your peace, sit it down until you objectively can do what is yours to do about it, and then do it in peace. My good friend Kirsty Beckwith, many of you knew, used to remind me that peace underlies everything. Underlies everything. And she went on further to explain it by visualizing a choppy lake and mentally dropping down below the surface of that choppy water until the waters were calm and pleasant. Well, having had the benefit of being a scuba diver many years ago, I can really use that illustration to get to peace, because there was a moment when I went down in the water and I felt so calm, so euphoric, like God was caressing me. It was almost like I could imagine floating in the womb of God. It was safe. It's no wonder that babies scream bloody murder when they're born. They come from that blissful state. What a shock. Well, Jesus promised us in John 14:27, "Peace I leave with you. My peace I give to you. Let not your hearts be troubled. Charles Fillmore says in the Revealing Word that peace is harmony and tranquility derived from awareness of the Christ consciousness. So we can be assured that if we're not at peace, we're not in our Christ consciousness. You get that? If you're not in peace, you're not in Christ consciousness. We are in our human mind. I have some of the goofiest scenes go through my head sometimes, and I was writing that. I thought of that Andy Griffith episode where Gomer is chasing Barney in the car, in the cop car, because he had run a light or whatever, or done a U-turn, and he says, "Citizens arrest, citizens arrest." And I have this little lady in my head sometimes that goes, mind of God, mind of Christ, not the human mind. So, human mind. I need to have her speak to me more often. Get out of the human mind, get in the mind of Christ. The third candle is for joy. Our card states that joyfulness is an inner wellspring of peace and happiness. It's beyond ordinary happiness because it's not an occasional emotional reaction to luck or circumstances. It's a deep sense of well-being that fills us with delight and hope. We appreciate the gift of life and savor its richness. We enjoy simple pleasures. We find the humor in things. We allow joy to carry us through the painful times. We take ourselves lightly and remember to play. Joy comes when we are being true to a soulful purpose. It gives us an abiding sense that all is well. Sometimes I feel like it's a kind of an unnatural concept for many of us to accept that joy is always available from within, even in the face of grief, turmoil, challenge. But it states on the card something I hadn't really grasped fully before. Joy is beyond ordinary happiness because it's not an occasional reaction to luck or circumstance. That's what happiness might be. It's a deep sense of well-being that fills us. Perhaps our sense of well-being has not been cultivated through faith that we are safely held in the heart of God's ever-abundant good for our lives. Always. If we can't accept that, joy will evade us. If we are evaluating life from our human side, our human perception, we may find fleeting happiness, but it takes the Christ consciousness to find joy in the face of despair, grief, or challenge. Seems impossible. But Christ consciousness can take us there. Our fourth candle is for love. What a beautiful word. Love is the center of our being from the cards. It is the vital force that gives us energy and direction. It connects one heart with another. Love is irresistible attraction and affection for a person, a place, an idea, or even for life itself. Love is cherishing others, treating them with tenderness. Love thrives on acceptance and appreciation. It has the power to heal. It calls us to continually hone ourselves while releasing the need to control or make someone in our image. Nurtured by commitment and seasoned by kindness, love is our greatest gift. And from 1 Corinthians 13:7, love is patient, love is kind. It bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, and endures all things. Love can be very difficult because it makes us vulnerable. And most people have personally experienced the saying, without great love, there could be no great sorrow. Around Christmas time, many people have a hard time because of having lost a dear one. But that is experiencing love from the human standpoint. When my sister passed in August of 2021, she had been unconscious for 3 agonizing months, and our pain was devastating. But when she finally passed on the same day as her great-granddaughter was born, we were reminded that she had promised to be present for her birth. Knowing the spiritual side of Eileen's story gave me another look at what was happening, and I understood, perhaps for the first time in my life, the experience of feeling grief, love, peace, joy, and hope simultaneously. So we have 4 beautiful spiritual concepts for the advent of something new in our life. They've been in existence since the 5th century, and they've worked for all those many years to usher in the celebration of the birth of Christ, or as we believe in unity, to awaken or to rebirth the indwelling Christ consciousness. They are spiritual values, and trying to experience them in a totally human way is missing the point. We must call upon the God of our being to reach their full expression. We have to take off the zoom lens to see the big picture, like Emily's saying. We have to back away and look at things from a distance. Our God is not distant or far away, but we can benefit from viewing our human problems from far away to get a divine perspective. And I'm going to offer you what I did to design a practice that can be used throughout the year whenever you feel like you need to start anew. And I know I feel like I need to start anew at least 347 days a year. Valerie is going to project on the screen, or the wall, 6 affirmations for each of those 4 aspects of Advent. You can take a screenshot from your computer if you're on Zoom, or you can take a picture with your phone if you like. And while you're doing that, I want to say that ritual is a very mystical and powerful thing. Whether it's making a proper cup of tea and sitting quietly in contemplation to enjoy it, or mindfully creating an Advent practice for yourself. I made a traditional Advent candle, a wreath with olive branches I found at Hobby Lobby or some such, and I placed 4 battery-operated candles around it. You can use regular burning candles, but I've had enough candle mishaps at my age to choose more wisely. And all you need to do is choose an affirmation for every day for each of the 4 spiritual gifts and repeat it as you light the candle for that day, for that virtue. You spend a moment in contemplation of each affirmation. And this entire process can take less than a minute, really. And everyone has at least 1 minute to spare in devotion. If you don't, this could be the reason you're looking for peace, love, and joy and hope instead of experiencing it, like I've discovered for myself. You can make up your own affirmations if you choose to, or you can use these from the Virtues Project. I really recommend that you create a ritual for yourself, whichever method you choose to use. Take a moment daily and really get centered so that we can be dealing from the Christ consciousness within. This is what we're rebirthing this season. This is what is new. This is the reawakening of the reality of who we are, our divine Christ center. It might just be the kickstart you're going to need to start anew during this season of new beginnings. God bless you, and Merry Christmas.